the world, will be our guest as we learn all about the exciting lifestyle and new home choices available at Ocala's premier adult active community on top of the world. From time to time, Robert will bring guests, and you're sure to enjoy our little chats. After all, you deserve the world, and we bring it to you. This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to Ocala Talks. I'm your host, Tom Schmitz, coming to you from the studios of WOCA Radio, just off the runway at the Ocala International Airport in the Brick City, beautiful Ocala, Florida. You know, sometimes you forget just how amazing the city we live in is. But yesterday I took a stroll around the square as they're finishing up the lights for Light Up Ocala, and you know, I just sat there on a bench and envisioned just the pageantry of the lights and the tradition of Light Up Ocala. And Galen Unall from Life South joins us, thanks to the good folks at Penn Flooring, Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, and Just Ship. Galen, I was just sitting there just thinking about how lucky we are to live at a place that takes that much time and effort to, you know, holiday up its downtown area. It's one of those things that not everybody gets to have the fun and tradition we get here in Ocala sometimes.
The best parts of Ocala, there's no doubt about that. No doubt. It's and our downtown has really become, you know, almost the mecca of our county. So yeah. It's pretty cool down there.
You know, just sitting there and watching them and all the effort that goes into, you know, I watched, they were doing one of the oak trees on the square, and I sat and watched for a good 25, 35 minutes as they got maybe 2 branches in that tree done because of because of the effort it takes when they had the scissored lifts out there and the bucket truck out there and the effort it took to put those lights up and everything. And it just, the just way that we turn our downtown into a holiday spectacle. You know, I don't like going to Light Up Ocala. It's too crowded for me. It's too many people down on the square at one time. But man, I like driving through the next night or the night after once the lights are on.
Yeah, we'll end up walking through there, my wife and I. I'm curious to see, you know, historically, remember they had the giant tree where the
hotel was.
Hotel was and things like that. And they always try something new, and I'm curious as to what they'll do this year.
Did you ever take, have you ever taken in that, what other way can you say it except the fake skating rink? Yeah, we did that. It is it's not great. It's not great. Now you gotta work to get around that skating rink.
Woo! It's not really ice skating.
It's not ice skating.
Yes, I have.
It is not ice skating, but it's a viable option for those who have never ice skated.
Absolutely. It hurts just as bad when you fall on that as if you do on an ice skating rink.
100%. When was the first time you ice skated in your life?
Probably in New York. Went up there to visit.
Rockefeller Center?
No. I don't think I've ever ice skated there. I've been there at Christmas meeting. Long time ago. Yeah, I think it was in New York. They had like an ice skating rink, and me and my cousins went.
Yeah, I got invited when I was probably 10 years old, 11 years old. They had for some reason, I forget the reason behind it, but they had turned the Jacksonville Coliseum. They had put an ice rink in the Jacksonville Coliseum. And it was probably Christmas if I I don't have very much memory. But I was
there was a time when the Lizard Kings played there, very short time. So.
But I was like, sure, I'll go. My buddy was like, you want to go skating? I was like, sure, I'll go skating, thinking that we were going to roller skate because, roller skating was the craze back then.
Sure.
In the 70s and the very, very beginning of the 80s, roller skating was where everybody went. So I thought, sure, I'll go. I can roller skate. I've been roller skating all my life. Whole different animal when you're standing on a blade as versus four wheels underneath you.
Yeah, it sure is. There's no doubt about that.
But how long now? See, I don't know the history of the Light Up Ocala. Has it been going on as long as you can remember?
No. It was something that started when I came back to live in Ocala because I have not lived in Ocala all my life.
Well, you were in the Navy, so you lived all over for a while.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, so.
Then you were in Jacksonville for a while.
It wasn't in high school, right? I was in Jacksonville. I was in Gainesville. I was in Maryland. I lived in Williston. When we came back is when I noticed it. So I think it came around sometimes like in the late 90s. I wasn't here. So.
Look, I'm not gonna let that pass. You lived in Williston?
Oh yeah. My wife. Yeah, I'll never forget it. We moved from Gainesville, because I really hated Gainesville. But my wife's like, I want horses, and you can buy 55 acres out in Williston for like $5,000. I mean, there's some useless land out there. And so we had 5 acres out in Williston, and that was. And my wife and I talk about this often. The worst decision of our marriage
was to move to Ocala.
No, it was a move to Williston.
Yeah, I knew that's where you were going with that. Yeah.
Well, we never did get the horses, and we did it. Our kids were. Well, my youngest wasn't even born yet.
But the Williston,
it was a terrible decision.
But the Williston Country Club, I mean, come on, that had to make up for something.
Oh my gosh, there's nothing there, and the people there were very mean. They weren't accepting of outsiders. The greatest thing in Williston is there's a daycare there called Kids and Company. That is by far and away the best daycare I've ever seen. My son loved that place. They made him like. Every morning they made him like a homemade breakfast. They cooked lunch on site, right? I mean, they took care of my boy, and for that I'll always be grateful to Kids and Company. But the rest of it's pretty terrible.
I was pretty sure the only good thing in Williston was Highway 27 traveling out of the city limits.
No, it's good. And then talk about culture shock. So we moved from Williston to Baltimore, Maryland.
Ooh, that went from out in the middle of nowhere to the big city real quick.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, we lived in Ellicott City, and I would have to drive by. Anybody who hasn't seen The Wire, it was a pretty darn good show.
It is a very good show.
My son just recently watched it on Netflix or something, and he goes, "Dad, have you ever seen The Wire?" I'm like, "I've seen The Wire," and I said, I'm like, I used to drive past that on my way to work where they filmed The Wire.
Well,
it was. And by the way, there is two places in Baltimore. There's the waterfront, and then everything else. And
yes.
Everything else is pretty much in the hood.
I lived on the southern end of D.C. for about a year and a half with my in-laws. You lived on the northern side of D.C. I lived in Alexandria, Virginia.
Sure.
For about a year and a half.
Twice a week I had to go to Fairfax.
And except for where I graduated high school. I graduated high school in Chamblee, Georgia, which is a suburb about 15 minutes outside of downtown Atlanta, just down Peachtree Industrial, just out past Midtown, and then Brookhaven, and Buckhead, then Brookhaven. Then you come to Chamblee. So it's in the it's inside of 285 in Atlanta. Other than living there, the worst traffic I've ever experienced in my life was the Beltway in Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Alexandria, Virginia.
I've driven in both a lot. There's nothing worse than the Beltway.
The Beltway's
and
horrible. It is terrible.
You know, it's just god awful. And I'll never forget I forgot. I didn't forget. I left. Didn't think anything of it. It was a Friday and it was Halloween. And I drove home, and it took me 5 hours to drive from Fairfax to Ellicott City.
Which is about, what, 40
5
miles?
hours.
About 35 miles?
Maybe if I left my house at 7:20, it would take me about 45 minutes. If I left at 7:30, it would take me 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of like if you leave Chamblee, Georgia, and get on 285 at 5 after 7, you can get to Marietta in about 20 minutes. If you leave at 15 after 7, you can get to Marietta about an hour and 30 minutes.
They have improved the road a lot with the Spaghetti Junction.
Oh yeah, I remember when they were
better.
I remember when they were building Spaghetti Junction. When 285 and 75 there, 85 there only had on and off ramps. There was no big Spaghetti Junction and everything. It was just on and off ramps, and it was the worst.
Always under construction. It's always going to be under construction.
I remember when
280.
I remember when
280. 400 to be free is a major impact.
I remember when 285 was 2 lane in each direction.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
now it's 5 lanes in each direction.
Yeah, it's pretty terrible. Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
people say,
terrible.
do you remember when 285 was used as a bypass? I do. Now the 75-85 connector right through the center of town is used as the bypass.
That's correct.
But yeah, I lived just off the Beltway in Alexandria, Virginia. The only redeeming factor there, and it's because of my makeup, was on my days off from work. I pretty much any excuse that I could on a day off. Hey, let's go into the city. Why? We would end up at the Smithsonian. I just would,
Sure.
every day that I could, I was in the city, taking in the Smithsonian, because the Smithsonian, people don't realize, Smithsonian's like 20 different museums spread out between Washington, D.C. and New York City. And you can never see everything. The Smithsonian puts 3% of what it owns is on display at any one time. 3%.
Sure.
That means 97% of the Smithsonian is behind the curtain. So it's always something to see at the Smithsonian. So that was the only redeeming factor of living up there for a year and a half, was I was within, I could get on the subway and I could get on the metro and be in D.C. and be at the Smithsonian pretty quick.
Well, and I was studying the Civil War at the time. And so, I went to Gettysburg.
Oh, yeah. But you were able to go to Appomattox and everything because you were right there in Virginia.
To all of them. Yeah, I went to all of them. And just, I remember the first time I went to Gettysburg, it was so much to take in. Because they do such a phenomenal job.
It is
I've
really,
never been to Gettysburg.
It's really hallowed. It's like hallowed ground when you walk on it and everything. You feel the intensity of Gettysburg.
Absolutely. Well, and especially the way they have it set up, where you go to the museum first.
Right.
Really get a taste of what the fighting was, the number of horses that died, right? And then you walk it, and I did it on both sides. I walked it from the South's perspective as they're rounding the corner, and then they come out onto the field, and you're there.
And there's Seminary Ridge, and you saw where
Seminary
Pickett.
Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're standing on the ridge, and again, the guides do such a phenomenal job. They're like, just imagine, you are not crossing that field alive. And when you look at it, the Union had the high ground, and you're just going, all right, for God and country, I guess. Right, you're dead.
Little known fact about that battle is Lincoln had told his generals that if the South wins, sue for peace, and we'll figure out how to work out this Confederate states and everything. So Lincoln was ready to end the war if the North couldn't win Gettysburg.
Sure.
And the South was trouncing the Union at Gettysburg. And as the sun was setting, Longstreet goes to Lee and says, we have them on the run, we must follow them. And Lee, being the general that he was, goes, no, as the sun sets, gentlemen do not fight in the dark. Tomorrow we shall attack them. And so Lee would not allow Longstreet to continue after the North and they would have run them off the field. The letters and all from the Northern generals said that they were in vast mass retreat and that the South would have run them off the field, but the South halted their assault because sun was setting and gentlemen didn't fight after dark. And so that allowed the North to then take the high ridge as they were retreating off the field, set up their cannons. The next day, Pickett, as we know, charged 3 times. It was a veritable draw. People lost their lives. The war continued, and the Union ended up winning. But if Lee hadn't have been such a gentleman, if he'd have fought at dark, our history may have been way, way different. But the gentleman in Robert E. Lee said, gentlemen didn't fight after dark, because people didn't realize war back then was not the ugly spectacle we know. People would literally come out in their horse carriages and set up picnics on the ridges and watch the battle taking place in the fields below them, like it was something to watch and something to see. It was a much different time back then.
Oh, and if you look at again, what the biggest factor in the Civil War, I think, was the placement of the artillery for the Union. And this Confederates never really got their artillery into a place where it could be effective. And I think that was the difference in the grape shot that was used, the effectiveness of bouncing that cannonball right down into the valley. It was just so extreme. So,
but yeah, if you've never been to Gettysburg,
that's what changed the war.
There's
no doubt.
If you've never been to Gettysburg, though, just the magnitude of the emotions that wash over you and I did the same thing as you did. I charged up the hill. I walked up the hill, Seminary Ridge. I also stood where the Union encampment was and looked down. And you just, from that encampment, from where the Union guns were, you can tell. There were people that were going to die before they ever got anywhere near the top of that ridge. Yep. And you knew that, hey, today is the day I die. And people had to come to grips with that because they knew that was going to happen.
And again, it's untouched. It
really is.
Almost exactly the way it was. And when you drive around Gettysburg, you could tell everybody in Gettysburg, they understand that this is hallowed ground. We have to take care of it. We have to be caretakers of it.
And they are very good stewards. They are very good stewards.
There's no doubt about it.
We got to take a break. We'll be right back after this timeout on 1370 AM, 96.3
FM, WOCA, The Source.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Are you wasting time boxing up packages and going to the post office or the UPS store? Are you tired of not knowing what you'll pay when you get there? Just Ship offers pickup service and flat rate packaging and postage rates, which takes the guesswork out of shipping while saving you time and money. So quit wasting valuable time and money. Call or text Just Ship at 352-234-3840. That's 352-234-3840. Just Shipped.
Are you or your loved one being released from a hospital and wondering how you'll manage? Inform your physician that you want to go to Palm Garden of Ocala at 2700 Southwest 34th Street for your rehabilitation. Palm Garden provides pain management, post-discharge follow-up, diabetic care, psychosocial support, and so much more. Plus, they even offer outpatient rehab. This award-winning care facility has a team of licensed professionals dedicated to enhancing your independence. Call 352-854-6262 today.
You're having another great day and you have good taste tuning into WOCA The Source with Ocala Talks and Tom Schmitz. Well, 1 out of 2 isn't bad.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. Galen from Life South joins us. Thanks to the good folks at Just Shipped, Penn Flooring, and Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center.
Galen, I got a text. Actually a Facebook Messenger that people want to give you and I way too much credit, by the way. they said, this comes from Marty, and he goes, good topic this morning. I didn't realize that y'all would go on to a Gettysburg thing and a Civil War thing. The way y'all plan your conversations are great.
Well, I just follow the script that I'm given, Tom.
Yeah, that would be none.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, getting back to Gettysburg, if you haven't been, I would encourage you to read about Gettysburg and refresh your mind of it, because you go in and you can be overwhelmed. I remember the first time I'm like, oh, I know a lot about Gettysburg.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
I thought
it's an incredible.
I thought the exact same thing you did, and I have a little more background to have a little more knowledge than you do. And I thought,
you have degrees.
yeah, I'm going in there, and you know this about me. I'm the guy that wants to interject so people know how smart I am.
Yeah.
I know that. I know that about my personality trait. Like I did it with Silver Springs when my sister came into town. The Silver Springs glass bottom boat guy. I knew 3 times more than he did about Silver Springs. But anyway, so I'm at Gettysburg and I want to interject. And I interject and the guy goes, sir, I know you think you know a lot, but sit back. We're going to teach you something today. And I thought to myself, you're not going to teach me anything, pal. It's Gettysburg. What is there to know that I don't know? And then 5.5 hours later, I was dumbfounded with how much I did not know about Gettysburg.
That's correct. Yeah, it's a powerful.
To me,
place.
and my love of history is encompassing, but my specialty, if I could, if there's one area of history, if you could go back and put yourself in it, would you? Is I would go back to the Revolutionary period when the colonies were starting to form the nation and everything. But I will tell you this, in my estimation, while Philadelphia is very important to the movement of the Revolution, because of how important Massachusetts was and how important Virginia was, and all of them together, Philadelphia to me is not as important to history as Gettysburg was to history as an individual site. Philadelphia was very important, but it was part of a conglomeration of what was happening in Virginia, what was happening in Georgia, what was happening in Massachusetts, what was happening in New York. Gettysburg was Gettysburg.
Yeah. Again, it's. I would encourage everybody to go.
It's really an amazing time.
I've been to, several others, but there's nothing. There's nothing like Gettysburg.
The only other place that brought me just to emotions that I didn't think I was going to be brought to besides Gettysburg was Antietam. And it's because because of the mass death and destruction that you learn about and you know happened, but then you learn in depth about how it was. It was the bloodiest single day in the history of the American military was Antietam.
That's
More
correct.
people were killed and injured on that one day than any other day in military history in the U.S. history. So Antietam, for that reason, has its own somberness and its own, just you just have to go in and regard it as hallowed ground, but it's still not Gettysburg.
Well, the cool thing about Antietam is you see the roads all lead to Antietam,
right,
where the battlefield is. And you can realize, okay, I'm just marching. Because if you're just a soldier, you probably have no idea what's going on, right? You're just hanging out with your buddies. You're just walking along. And then you wake up one morning like, oh, boy. And you have no idea how big the force is, right, if you're just a soldier.
If you're just in your regiment, no, you have no idea the mass that took place in Antietam.
And the waves that just kept coming. That's the crazy thing about Antietam. It was hand-to-hand combat.
It was
like they were 15 yards apart.
Yeah. It was ugliness is what Antietam was.
The two camps were less than half a mile.
Yeah.
Apart.
We got to take a break. We'll be back more with Galen Unall from Life South after this time out on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
President Biden's social spending bill hit a snag from Democrat Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia on Monday.
West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin said he won't support the $1.75 trillion social safety net expansion bill until there is greater clarity about the impact it will have on the country's national debt and the economy.
I will not support a bill that is this consequential without thoroughly understanding the impact that it'll have on our national debt, our economy, and most importantly, all of our American people. Every elected representative needs to know what they are voting for and the impact it has, not only on their constituents, but the entire country.
From the USA Radio News, West Texas Bureau, I'm Brad Bernards.
30 states are holding some form of elections today. Governors, mayors, and local issues will be on the ballots. We'll keep you posted on the results as they come in. We are USA Radio News.
If you're concerned about the power grid and want to generate your own supply of off-grid electricity, this will be the most important message you'll hear this year. Here's why. We now have a small number of solar generators back in stock. These emergency backup systems provide life-saving backup power when you need it most. And unlike gas generators, solar generators run quietly, emit no dangerous fumes, and produce an endless supply of free electricity from the sun. Whether it's wildfires, dangerous weather, power grid issues, or just getting off the grid, you'll never have to suffer through painful power outages again. Even better, all this week, radio listeners get over $700 in free off-the-grid bonuses too. Go to mysolarbackup.com to learn more and check availability. That's mysolarbackup.com. Look for the free report, Crisis Cooling, how to make absolutely sure your meat, milk, and medicines stay safe and cool in any power outage. Yours free at mysolarbackup.com.
Just in, folks, at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens in Ocala, a great new selection of winter hardy annuals at a truly amazing low price. Now take your pick from snapdragon, petunias, dianthus, flowering cabbage, Johnny Jump Up, and many more. Mix and match your choice, a flat of $15 for just $23.99. It's camellia time, and Bob Wine's famous heirloom sun and shade loving camellias, the gallon size, not $19.99, just $16.99 this week. And those popular dwarf camellias in pink and red, they're just $19.99. Bob has more herbs than you've ever seen. They start at just $1.99. And how about this doorbuster? Confederate Jasmine closeout price, you get 2 for $10. Spruce up for cool weather now at Ocala's 5.5-acre garden. Bob Wine's Camellia Garden, Southeast 38th Street in Ocala, in the same blooming place for almost 70 years.
You know what you want to do in retirement, but do you know how to get there? Tune in to Coasting into Retirement with Gary Marriage of Nature Coast Financial Advisors, Sunday mornings at 8 to get answers to your retirement planning questions. Plan today so you can do the things you've always dreamt about doing in retirement. Listen Sunday mornings at 8 to Coasting into Retirement with Gary Marriage of Nature Coast Financial Advisors.
Our firm offers insurance services.
Embrace Magazine is boldly uniting lifestyles as the first ever and only gay magazine in North Central Florida, based right here in Ocala. Recently honored as Best New Magazine, Best Overall Magazine, and Magazine of the Year, all in our first year by the Florida Magazine Association, our mission is to unite the gay and straight communities through exceptional content appealing to all. Hi, I'm John Sotomayor, publisher and editor-in-chief. Tune in to our radio show on Wednesday, November 10th at 10 a.m. here on WOCA. To read our digital issues, follow us on Facebook and visit our website at embracemagazine.us.
Come join us at the 40th Annual Downtown Festival and Art Show November 6th and 7th in beautiful downtown Gainesville for a weekend full of art, music, and culture. Explore a stunning collection of artwork by over 150 artists and marvel at world-class paintings, photography, sculpture, jewelry, and so much more. Enjoy entertainment on 4 stages, including a downtown blues concert on Friday night. And bring the kids for free art activities at the Children's Imagination Station. For more information, visit GainesvilleDowntownArtFest.org.
You're getting ready to move and you work hard. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. You need pros. Trained professional moving experts to do the heavy lifting for you. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. They care about your things as much as you do, and they do it fast and right. That's why you call Two Men in a Truck, 352-289-0666. Visit twomeninatruck.com and get moving.
2 Men in a Truck.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend